Hello all, Olde Geek here, and this is a bit of an impromptu video, so excuse me if I do ramble and go backwards and forwards a bit. It's entirely unscripted. It's just been prompted by a discussion that I've been having with one of my gaming groups in response to our last couple of sessions that we've had of a particular campaign. A little bit of background. I've been DMing for this group for a while, and one of my regular players recently bought the Odyssey of the Dragonlords adventure for the Mythic Theros campaign for 5th edition D&D, and he's been keen to run it for a while. He's not done a lot of DMing, so this really is his first dive into running a campaign. And it does seem to be quite a beefy campaign. And he's got a group of players which has a mixture of experience levels. There's me being the curmudgeonly old git. There's a couple of people who've been in the hobby for probably 7 to 10 years, and a couple of newer guys. So obviously expectations from the players will differ, and playstyles will differ. And last night the campaign sort of ground to a little bit of a halt, and he's blaming himself at the moment for that. I don't think he's to blame at all. I think there were two key issues. So, a bit of background. If you're not familiar with the Mythic Theros campaign, it is a 5th edition setting based on a Magic the Gathering setting, which is inspired by Greek mythology. And that inspiration is clear to see from the names, the races available, the cities, the culture. Everything does feel very, very ancient Greek. Now, 5th edition D&D is generally designed with Forgotten Realms in mind, and that has really been the basis for how it's been built. So the idea of Forgotten Realms being a big magical melting pot, anyone can be anything, that type of approach where magical halflings, dwarves who don't mind elves, good aligned tieflings, all these sort of things are perfectly encouraged in 5th edition, because there is an issue with telling players no. There is an issue with painting races in the game in a certain way. People are treading on eggshells a little. So, with the Mythic Theros campaign, of course, you've got some new races to play. Namely, one of those is the Satyr race. And it still has very much the anyone can be anything type approach. But things appear to have fallen apart a little bit for us, I say, for two reasons. One is that the adventure material itself appears to be lacking in important places. Now, these seem to be places that the writers don't believe are particularly important, but when material has been let loose on us at the table, it has become important. We're still very early in the campaign. I've not read it. I mean, I've probably had about 6 or 7 sessions of it. So for this to come up so quickly is a little bit perturbing in terms of it gives me a bit of in terms of the quality of the material. Are things going to improve from here? We're in a situation where a princess is about to be sacrificed. Now, one of the characters in our party, he is a lawful good human paladin. he has just discovered that this princess is his sister. Even in a society where sacrifices are commonplace, which they are in the game, that's been made clear to us, a lawful good paladin is not going to sanction his daughter being sacrificed to an order who have been coming across in the game as being decidedly dodgy. I'm playing a satyr. It's a warlock, and he is chaotic. Now, he's not evil, he's not good, he's chaotic neutral. Before you go, oh, red flag, chaotic neutral. Chaotic neutral is not a license to be an idiot. It is an alignment of independence, not adhering to norms, liking to have your freedom. It doesn't make you a sadistic fool, it just makes you respect freedoms and have disdain for tyranny. And of course he's a satyr as well. Now, I am old school. I don't believe in the everyone can be anything. When I portray another race in a game, I try and get into the mind. I don't try and just portray them as a human with bolted on other abilities and pointy ears or whatever like that. I'm trying to get into the mindset of thinking. It's a challenge for me to try and think like something that is not human. So I've been portraying him as not understanding the norms of human society, disliking the order and the structure of society. He might come across as a bit ignorant, ill-mannered, because it's just his way, but he's not bad. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. He just doesn't quite get how humans are working, and he hates the idea that this innocent princess looks like she's going to be sacrificed to a tyrannical order who are demanding it. It's a total antithesis of his existence. So already we have two characters who are trying to step in to prevent that sacrifice from happening. So we've been trying to talk to the people carrying out the sacrifice, trying to talk to people who are going to be overseeing it, trying to work out the motives and trying to find a way of delaying it, trying to find a way of stopping it from happening, all the things you would imagine a party would try to do. Now, from the conversation we've had with the DM this morning, I'm getting the impression that this part of the adventure is probably only a few paragraphs, maybe a couple of pages, and we've totally overthought it, and that the whole thing about sacrifices, they're to be expected, and that the princess has given in to the idea of being sacrificed, and while the king, her father, may not like it, he understands why it has to happen. So we've got this conflict where the DM doesn't have much information on the page to go on when dealing with a group of players who have reacted logically according to their characters. And we're not trying to derail the game. We're not being evil. We're not murder hoboing. Quite the opposite. It seems to be that the adventure has been written strictly with the belief that the players are going to be heroic and agree with the tenets of the game world. We also have a dwarf in the party, and the player who's playing the dwarf is playing him quite well, and he is playing pretty much like a traditional dwarf. Now think back to the Tolkien type dwarves who weren't really going out looking for heroism. It sort of stumbled upon them because of their nature, their stoicness, their reliability, their trustworthiness. we got into a fight that was way out of our league 2 sessions ago, and that is because the dwarf would not be spoken to in the way that this order, this group of people that were carrying out the sacrifice, were speaking to him. He's playing a dwarf. Once again, I think the game and the general feelings about the game and the races at the moment, and even the writing of the adventure, is that the players can play anything. They're playing in a Greek world, therefore they're going to be heroes. And they're going to play like heroes. To me, that says they're going to think like the humans, or the human-like races. They've not taken into account the idea that a lot of us players do not just want to play a repackaged human. So, my initial thoughts of Mythic Theros: it wants to be a Greek mythology setting. If it is to work as a Greek mythology setting, it has to cast off a few of these 5th edition shackles, a few of these 5th edition expectations that anyone can be anything, because you have to be true to the mythology of the that has formed the basis of that setting. We as players have expected to follow those that basis, and the adventure that we're playing instead seems to follow more of the 5th edition line of you're just going to think like humans. It also shows up, I think, one of the issues with trying to make an adventure very sandboxy while also having a railroady expectation. That has shown up a couple of times so far as well. So I'm going to say to Mike, who is my DM, you've not done anything wrong so far. Yes, you're inexperienced. Actually, let me roll that back. You've done 2 things wrong so far because you're inexperienced. One thing you should have said at the start is, you're all playing heroes. Play humans. Maybe allow a half-elf or a race that is definitely going to be heroic, because you're going to be heroes. John, don't play a satyr. You should have said that to me right at the start. And secondly, I think it might have been a little ambitious, perhaps picking a long campaign, no matter how juicy and how invested you are in the subject matter. Long campaigns like this, it can be difficult to keep them on the rails, and that is a fault of the campaign more than anything, because players will go off the rails. It's difficult to keep them on the rails. I've DM'd for this group a lot, and I've run long Call of Cthulhu campaigns, and I've got years of experience, and I've had to fight and fight and fight to keep people going in the direction that they should be going in, and it's difficult for me, and I've run hundreds of games, so it is difficult to run a game that purports to be a sandbox, but it does seem that the campaign has so many expectations that it's not really a sandbox. Anyway, I hope I haven't rambled too much and haven't repeated myself too much. This is entirely unscripted, and those are my thoughts. Mike, keep your chin up. We are enjoying it. It's good fun. Don't be scared to say no, because we know you are learning the art of DMing. So if you just be upfront and say stop, think more simply. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. Anyway, that's been me, John, the Olde Geek. See ya.